team, and welcome to the 6th episode of our Everyone Active podcast. I am one of your hosts, Jo Hancock.
And I'm another one of your hosts. I'm Michelle Laurie. Welcome. Hope you're well. How are you?
Amazing.
Good
Another
week.
good week. It's March. Oh my goodness.
Where did February actually go? Spring now.
Gone. Whoa.
I'm pleased.
Yes, I've had a really good week. Guess what?
What?
I've got an extension of a job.
Exciting.
Yeah.
What are you doing?
So one of our new sites
Right.
is Harpenden. Hi, Team Harpenden. And I am going there as a member of the team to work on the group exercise.
Amazing. Welcome to the
Timetable.
world of group exercise
Yay.
coordinating.
Yes, I will be timetabling.
Hooray.
Coordinating.
Oh, it's very exciting.
So thank you.
Congrats.
Thanks very much. How was your week? How was the birthday party?
Baxter had the best birthday ever. For those of you that follow me on social media, you would have seen there was a cake. Offs.
Of course there was a cake.
There was singing, offs. And yes, it was good. He had lots of presents and...
Cushions intact?
Cushions are intact. Shoes are intact.
Just
about. And his birthday, you probably saw we got him it's a birthday muffin we get him. And that lasted about 10 seconds.
Oh, what about
Brody? Brody just sort of was a bit confused. Brody's the puppy. He was slightly confused by the whole thing. Wasn't really sure what was going on. But, you know, it'll be his birthday soon.
Exactly. Oh dear, what else happened this week? We've had some lovely questions in. So we might actually do a little dedicated episode
for people's questions.
So please keep feeding back, keep sending in those questions to us.
Definitely. So this week we're celebrating International Women's Day.
And one thing that actually only women can do
is
give birth.
So we're going to talk about that today, aren't we? Pre and postnatal, what you can, what you can't do, some myths, some tips, hopefully.
Yep.
And we'll keep it real today with the mummy talk.
And I'm going to, if you don't mind,
go on,
just talk about, because you've had two.
I've had two.
And I think it's quite important for everybody to understand that not all birth is magical, easy.
I had two very different pregnancies and two very different birthing experiences. So we can talk about that later. I won't go into too much graphic detail because you might be eating your breakfast or your lunch, but you'll get the general gist of how things were. They've had a briefing here in the studio and we decided I'll keep it nice today. So, okay, let's talk about first of all then being pregnant and exercising. I think some common myths that I hear is that people shouldn't exercise. As soon as they find out that they're pregnant, that's it, they stop exercising. They sit on the sofa and read a magazine and wrap themselves in bubble wrap, and that's what they do.
Yeah. No, we will always say, always work with your GP and your midwife. But if you have been exercising before you became pregnant, and if you're not suffering with, I'm about to say morning sickness, but why do they call it morning sickness? Because it's sometimes throughout.
All day,
I'm going to do a little shout out to my sister-in-law at the moment. 13 weeks, has been sick every day for those 13 weeks.
Dear.
So if you're feeling like you can exercise and you've been exercising before you were pregnant, absolutely carry it on.
Absolutely. And I think also the key thing to remember when you are pregnant is if you're not feeling great that day, or if you've got any little abnormal bleedings or anything like that, then please don't exercise.
Absolutely.
People who are having multiple births, so people with twins, good luck with that. Please be very, very careful. You shouldn't be, there's lots of things you shouldn't be doing if you've got multiple births going on. So just do listen to what your midwife and your GP is saying to you.
Definitely.
But I mean, I exercised through both of my pregnancies. And I say I had very different experiences with my first and my second pregnancy. With my first pregnancy, I kind of almost forgot I was pregnant for a lot of it, to be honest with you. And I just carried on.
Working,
teaching. I was still teaching my step classes, my body attack classes, my body balance classes, I was teaching everything. I basically just did not stop for my whole pregnancy. I did keep things down a little bit. I was a little bit less crazy in my classes.
Let's talk about, though, in pregnancy, you will hear the word trimester.
Yes.
So our pregnancies tend to be broken down.
Yeah.
First, second, third.
That's
and
right.
now we've got education to talk about the fourth.
Yes.
Which we'll talk about, later.
So your sister-in-law is in her first trimester still.
She is.
So she probably isn't showing yet, which I get a lot of people come into my classes that are newly pregnant, which is amazing. And again, we'd say to them, kind of carry on with what you're doing, just see how you're feeling, really. I think it's the tiredness a lot in that sort of first trimester. I don't know if your sister-in-law's feeling that as well.
She's tired, she's poorly. It's basically, you are growing a human.
Growing a human. It's a big thing.
Internally growing a human.
Yeah.
So your body hormones are changing, your physicality of your body is changing, and the demands on your body are now completely different.
Absolutely. And I think you'll notice, what you'll notice going into your first and second trimester in particular is that a lot of your muscles, because you've got a hormone called relaxin that is released into your body when you're pregnant, and that kind of loosens everything up, getting ready for the birth, etc. So you're going to find that you've got areas of weakness that you didn't have before in your body, and areas that are really tight that you didn't have before in your body.
Do you know what? Let's talk about this whilst we're here.
Okay.
So relaxin, that amazing, wonderful chemical hormone.
Yeah, chemically hormone, yeah.
That is released. So in order to grow a baby, our body's hips expand.
Yep.
Spine expand. Yep. Ribs move.
Yep.
So that's big.
It's big changes happening in your body, and that can make things very weak.
Okay.
So you tend to find that people they'll go from maybe having a really strong glutes and really strong pecs and things like that, that with all that internal movement going on with the growth of the baby, they can become actually quite weak. And that's something that I hadn't appreciated before I got pregnant, that actually the change I felt in my body.
I suppose in our second and third trimesters, we spoke about it last week, your core. Yeah. Your core has to expand. It is growing, but an amazing part of the human body. It's designed to do that. It's designed to expand.
And I think we spoke about this last week with pelvic floor.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
You know, doing those pelvic floor exercises from the get-go when you're pregnant is just going to set you up in such good stead for when you're actually giving birth to your human.
And you physically experienced it, but I'm guessing there's a lot more weight pushing onto your pelvic floor, especially through your third trimester.
Absolutely.
Because not only have you grown a baby, you've grown an entire organ, your placenta, to support that baby.
Absolutely.
So by default, there is a lot more weight pushing onto your pelvic floor. So the stronger we can build that pelvic floor throughout pregnancy.
Absolutely, throughout pregnancy. So that's something that you can do throughout your whole pregnancy. As you get into your second and certainly your third trimester, things like lying on your back are a total no-no if you're going to be doing any kind of exercise.
Why is that?
Because if you think of all that extra weight you're going to be putting on yourself with the extra weight of your baby, it can be really, really dangerous. It can make your blood pressure go, and it can have all sorts of consequences. So just be mindful that if you are going to exercise, that you're thinking about what kind of movement you're going to be doing. Similarly, things like balancing, or if you're going to be, we spoke, I think last week about doing some core exercises where you're going to be doing lots of balance work. It's not going to be possible or really very advisable to do when you're pregnant, because you've got that whole risk of falling. And obviously with having all of that weight in front of you, your whole centre is going to be different and not what you expected as well.
Yeah. And also because we've got more liquid
Absolutely.
Inside us. So think about a rocking bottle of water.
Absolutely.
The pure motion of liquid is going to make your stability.
Absolutely. It just makes it all so different. And also things like when you're doing some standing work, maybe you're in the gym and you do things like some overhead shoulder presses, that kind of thing is not advisable in pregnancy, again, because of all of the pressure it's going to be putting on your internal organs and the baby. So just be a little bit mindful as to what you're doing when you are exercising.
Absolutely.
And if you're not sure, have a chat with your midwife, with your GP. Some of your group exercise instructors will be pre- and postnatal trained. A lot of my team are. I'm really lucky at my site. And if they're not sure, then they can put you in touch with somebody who can help you, basically.
Definitely. And there will be somebody, I'm sure, on your gym team as a personal trainer who will be
a specialist in
postnatal qualified.
Absolutely. And there are so many things that you can do during your pregnancy. Things like we speak about this all the time. Things like Pilates and yoga are amazing to do throughout your pregnancy, as long as you are being mindful of your movement and let your instructor know that you're pregnant, especially if you're in your early trimester and you might not be physically showing yet. because obviously you can still do some things where you're lying on your tummy in that first trimester, but you shouldn't be doing that. And if you're not showing fully being pregnant, your instructor might not be aware of that.
Yeah. A big thing that I want to point out as well is that your internal heat increases by a whole degree.
Goodness. Exactly. So hydration is a massive thing, a massive, massive thing when you're pregnant.
And to not think, oh my gosh, I used to be able to do this. You're growing a human. Like, you are doing an amazing thing.
Yeah, I think that's the thing, isn't it? Just don't do too much. Don't do, if you're not feeling it that day, totally give yourself a bit of a day off.
Definitely. So can we go back to your pregnancy?
Yes.
Second trimester. So we're 3 to 6 months.
So, I mean, I was lucky that I didn't get morning sickness with either of my pregnancies. I was really lucky with that. And in my second trimester, in my first pregnancy, I felt great. Felt absolutely amazing. I had bags of energy, actually. And I kind of quite enjoyed that period of my pregnancy because I was kind of showing at that point. I was still able to do what I could do, but I was having to modify things. Yep. But I still felt great in myself. And apart from, I think, sort of the fatigue that you get, obviously, because you're growing a person, I felt pretty good.
Right, and you're still doing your classes?
Still doing all my classes, before. Absolutely. I was taking it a little bit easier.
Yeah, you said the key word, modifications. So please, if you are showing, then
it makes it a bit easier for people to see, doesn't it?
Do tell your group exercise instructor. If you're working with a personal trainer, hopefully they will know this by now. But modifications, we've got the skills to be able to do that. If you're ready to keep moving and you're feeling fit and you're feeling well and you're energised and you want to, you can absolutely keep working.
I mean, an amazing class that I did go to as a participant when I was pregnant was an Aqua class.
Nice.
It was great. It wasn't a specific pre and postnatal Aqua class. I literally just went to a general Aqua class. It was actually at an Everyone Active site I went to as well. And that was great because I felt a lot more secure having the buoyancy of the water.
Yeah. Again,
there were specific things that I didn't do. So things that, because obviously your hips can become a lot looser. So there were lots of abduction work. So taking my leg out and in and out a lot. I was very mindful of that. Things like drawing my knees up towards my tummy, didn't do that kind of thing. So I kept it, again, modified things. But that was a great workout for me when I was pregnant. And I know some of my friends really enjoyed doing swimming. And they were getting involved in doing that when they were pregnant. But if you're not a water baby, things like just walking, just going out for a walk is a really way just to get active and just keep a little bit more mobile.
I guess it's also important to say that if you are used to exercise and you're fit and you're safe to keep exercising, for your mental health, I'm assuming you're going to want to keep moving.
Absolutely.
Even though you're pregnant.
Absolutely. And I think it didn't even cross my mind that I would stop exercising when I was pregnant. And I think we said this a few weeks ago about the fact that it becomes habitual, doesn't it, when you exercise. And I've been exercising for so many years. It is just part of my everyday. I do it whatever happens. So for me, it was important that I had that. And I think also, like you say, for my own mental health, just to be able to just switch off and do something.
And I guess that can dispel a bit of a myth. Again, we're saying if you've checked with your GP, if you've checked with your midwife, that you don't need to wrap yourself in cotton wool.
Absolutely. I think that's the thing. It's, you are...
And bed rest.
Yeah, bed rest. Unless you've got a specific issue and you can't exercise. In my second pregnancy, I did have an issue and I couldn't exercise. So I had to stop exercising. And actually for not only the physicality of having to stop exercising, my whole mindset was totally different in my second pregnancy, and I felt my whole mood come down because I was used to having that endorphin rush still. So that was quite difficult for me in my second pregnancy.
Tap onto your second pregnancy.
So my second pregnancy, I went for my 12-week scan as you would do, and baby was all good. But they then saw that I had a cyst on one of my ovaries as well as the baby. So they kind of monitored it, and because of all of the hormones that your body's producing. The cyst on my ovary grew at an alarming rate. And I think by the time I was about probably 14 weeks pregnant, I looked like I was about to give birth. I was absolutely full of fluid. So they waited until I was probably about 5.5 months into my pregnancy. and I had to go into hospital and have general anaesthetic to have what they thought would just be the cyst removed.
Okay.
In the end, the cyst had grown so big, they had to then remove my ovary.
Mish!
With little Cameron still in me. And they removed my ovary, the cyst, and just get how much this is. 3.5 litres of fluid were in me. I know, which is insane. So I came out of hospital looking less pregnant than when I went in, and I was still pregnant.
3.5 litres caused by the cyst.
By the cyst, yeah.
Crikey. And hats off to your surgeons.
Amazing. And it was kind of like, they were kind of like, well, it's touch and go. They said, if you don't have the operation, the cyst will grow and it will definitely
impact,
and you're going to lose the baby. You're going to lose the baby. If we do the operation, you might lose the baby, but I kind of didn't have a choice. It was just I had to do it. So that pregnancy for me, was very different, and I had to just stop everything because they gave me almost like it was a full cesarean operation to remove the cyst and the ovary. And so I had to stop after that because it was too far into my pregnancy.
So when you had him, did you then C-section birth?
Another C-section. So my first child was a natural birth, and then my second child was a C-section birth. Yeah. So again, very different birthing situations.
Definitely. And in terms of exercise, also very different situations that have happened to your body post-natal.
So let's talk about when you've had the baby and returning to exercise. And I think the usual thing that happens is that you go have your 6 week check, don't you? And that can be quite tricky, can't it?
6 weeks check, yeah. And I think now as well, we all know about the pressures on GPs and pressure on the NHS.
Yeah.
Some surgeries are so pressed that your 6 week check can turn into a phone call.
Gosh, yeah.
As we know, growing a baby, delivering a baby, then having an actual baby is a very physical event.
Yes.
So there are other specialists that you can go and see. So women's health specialists specifically. It's great to have your checks done physically. An organisation that I refer my personal training clients to afterwards is an organisation called the Mummy MOT.
Ooh.
And these are a group of specialist trained, qualified, because they've gone through the Mummy MOT qualifications.
And these are nationwide, are they?
These are nationwide.
Maybe we'll put the link somewhere for them.
Yeah, that's a great idea. Hopefully. Yay! And they are nationwide trained women's health physios who have all got the same gold standard of checks, including internal checks, which are incredibly important to see what's going on, see what's moved, or feel what's moved.
Yeah.
And then it just gives you a baseline as a female where your body is currently at.
Yeah.
And they are also trained physios, so they will be able to give you the start of the correct exercises to help your body regain strength, mobility. If there's areas that have been torn, let's face it, that happens.
Does happen.
So therefore we've got scar tissue to contend with. And I think it's especially important as well. We'll talk about C-sections because your second
was a C-section, yeah.
And that changes a whole heap of dynamics for when you want to, your recovery afterwards.
Yeah, recovery is longer,
C-sections, you cut, basically, don't you?
Absolutely.
Through your skin, through your fascia, through your muscle. Your muscle gets pushed one side, bit of organs move about.
Bit of a washing machine going on in the middle.
There we go. Hello, baby. So then you can imagine that when you are being literally stitched back together, there is a lot of physical changes that have happened. Big point to stress, once a woman has had a baby, for the rest of her life, she is a postnatal female.
Did you also know that it can take up to 5 months for your ligaments to go back to how they were before you were pregnant?
At least, because that also depends how long you are breastfeeding for.
Absolutely.
So minimum, 9 months to grow, 9 months to heal. And that's heal. That's not strengthening, mobilising everything. That is just healing.
And I think a key thing for me to say to any new mum that's listening or watching is don't be impatient. Don't be impatient. You've been through, your body, as we've said, has grown a human being, and you've done an amazing thing. You've given birth. So don't beat yourself up and think you've got to be at a certain point.
Absolutely. And no birth is the same.
No.
So no
I
recovery
had
is
two
the same.
very different experiences, 2 very different pregnancies, 2 very different birthing experiences. So that's always something to bear in mind as well. I think that nothing is the same, and what your friend may have happened to them might not be a similar situation for you.
And what Dr. Google says,
yes, Dr. Google,
might not be. But definitely find a specialist. If you want, well, not if you want your checks, go and have your checks done.
Absolutely.
Find a specialist that can help you. And then once you know where your body is, then you can talk to your group exercise instructors, your personal trainers, your swim teachers, and let them know where your body is. And then we can work with you.
Absolutely. And I think some of the key barriers that there are when you've got a new baby and returning to exercise is things like, obviously, it's the tiredness, sleepless nights. You might feel a little bit, oh, goodness me, I'm never going to get back to how I was. There's that whole essence of not maybe feeling you don't have time to do anything. Everything feels a little bit overwhelming when you've had a baby. So bear that in mind when you're trying to exercise, and maybe just do little short spurts of things rather than trying to go and do a whole hour of something which might not be achievable, not only with childcare or taking the baby with you or whatever. Which leads me on to, did you know we've got a brand new Everyone Active class that's launching?
Called?
Everyone Active Buggies and Bands.
Oh, yeah.
Now,
tell me about
this. Is something that I have been devising with one of our colleagues. Hi, Steph. And it's specifically for either ladies that are pregnant or ladies that have had a baby, or people that are carers for small children in pushchairs, because research has shown that a really big barrier for people not going to exercise when they've got a small child is they've got no childcare. They just
the expensive
childcare. So these classes, you bring the baby, however old we're saying up to about 3.
Mm-hmm. Oh, that's great.
In the pushchair. So say you are a carer, or whether you're a new mum or a dad or a grandparent, whatever you are, you can bring that baby in its pushchair and you can still do exercise.
Great.
So these classes are launching in the spring. They are either a studio-based class, a big sports hall class, or outdoors. So you can get some fresh air. So you're pushing your buggy outside.
So what are they called?
Buggies and Bands. EA Buggies and Bands.
And do you use bands?
You use bands. So it's body weight and using resistance bands. So again, the instructors are going to be very much looking at if you are a pregnant or postnatal lady, really gearing exercises towards you. And if you're not, if you are a carer who happens to just be looking after,
or daddy of bubby,
whatever,
go on the dads,
they can do exercise as well.
Great.
So it's awesome. A mixture of cardio and strength training.
And I've just got my little extra head on.
Go.
The beauty of it being with a band's very accessible.
Very accessible.
So if you're coming to classes and learning the techniques properly, then if you can't make a class because, do you know what, your feeding schedule's gone off that day, your sleep has been reduced down to 20 minutes, if you've got your band at home,
you can do it there. What I also should say is that in these classes, we have devised special areas where if you do need to go and feed baby or change baby, there's going to be little safe zones. You can go and do that. But I think it's one of the really nice things for me as a new mum was meeting other mums and having that network of support that you could just kind of sit there with your hair like this. You've not showered for 2 days kind of thing.
Just for the people that aren't watching us on YouTube, what happened to your hair then, Michelle?
It just kind of went on weird angles, which is probably best not to see. Worse than usual. But it's nice to be able just to be with those other like-minded people and just get a little bit of...
Let's talk about this. Breastfeeding.
Yes.
Breastfeeding, and the fact that you've still got your relaxin going out into your body. If you are breastfeeding, your body is still going to keep producing your relaxin. So again, it's just be careful with your range of motion.
Yes.
So your relaxin is going to be relaxing, your tendons, ligaments within your joints. So you've just got to be really careful with your range of motion because it's really easy to go over.
Exactly. So again, as I was saying earlier about going to Aqua classes, another great thing to do if you have just had a baby is go to an Aqua class. But again, be mindful. We were talking about their range of movement. So it's very easy, especially when you've got the buoyancy of the water, to overexert things. So just be a bit aware of that.
Okay. Well, anything else that we should maybe just be aware of?
Things like there's a condition called diastasis
Recti.
Now, that is where, when you are pregnant, basically your abdominal muscles obviously have to change and open, but they don't actually knit back together again when you've had the baby. Have you had lots of people this come to classes?
Absolutely. We should say that's what they are designed for. So you've got, if you take your fitness model and you can see their abs,
that's
side
nice
to side, down the front of your stomach. In between those muscles that you can see is fascia, it's a piece of skin that is designed to expand.
Yeah.
So your muscles don't actually come apart from each other. There's no ping.
Yes, exactly.
They expand. But that is what has to happen in order for you to grow a baby. And then after baby is out, your body is going to take a different form because it doesn't need to stay expanded for a baby.
No.
So it's going to start changing its shape.
Yes.
Diastasis recti. Talk to me about it.
Yes. So sometimes when that's happening, when the muscles are coming back from being expanded, they don't quite knit back together again. They don't quite make it. There's a little gap there. So you need to make sure that that's checked out.
Definitely.
Avoid things like doing crunches. We spoke about it in our last week's podcast about doing core exercises. But anything where you're going to have a doming effect is going to make that situation worse.
Planks.
No,
It's a no-no. So anything that's really targeting your transverse abdomini, your abs, cut that.
But things like being in a box position and doing Superman is absolutely fine. But just, be really mindful of that and make sure you get that checked out as well.
Is a check. And it is, we use it as our fingers. We do the measurement of our fingers saying how far the parting is. And you can decrease that distance.
You can.
But just to always be aware of it. And it's really important when you're coming back after having your baby that you allow your body to come back naturally, but also we aren't forcing it.
Yeah.
By doing something like a crunch action, you are actually training those muscles to go back apart.
Yeah, so they're coming up into that dome, absolutely.
So that's what we call a doming.
Doming effect.
We don't want the doming.
No. Something else that I'm just thinking of here when we're talking about when you've had your baby, and I spoke about being tired and stuff, is about if people want to offer you support, take it. If they want to cook meals for you, by the way, if you want to cook meals for me, let me know. I'm very available. I am still postnatal. You said
you
that.
are. You absolutely are.
Thanks. The fact that it's 19 years ago, let's not mention that anyway. But do take people's help, or do some batch cooking if you feel you've got energy to do it. But don't just feel you've got to do everything, because I think we feel a little bit like we should just be, you've had the baby and everything should go back to normal as it was. Well, it's never going to do that.
No.
Because you've now got another person in your life.
On that note, C-section recovery.
Yes.
So we've spoken about what C-section is.
Yeah.
And as we know, it's a big operation. You do need to listen and take advice from the advice. Obviously, it's not practical all the time.
No.
But as much, I don't want to use the word rest because you've had a baby, so you're never going to be able to completely rest. But just think about not putting
extra strain on it.
Yeah.
So things like, if you're lifting lots of heavy washing and that kind of thing, anything like that can put a strain on it. And don't also forget that it takes a lot longer to recover from a C-section than it does if you've had a normal vaginal birth. It's a different time length. So just bear that in mind when you're having a C-section if you have one.
And scar management as well. Like it's a big thing. And when we've got scar, then we've got scar tissue.
Yeah.
And sometimes people struggle with their scar. Again, go and find a specialist.
Yeah.
You can get scar massages and specific physio exercises that are designed to heal that scar.
Yeah.
Even 4, 5, 6 years time.
Yes, exactly. It doesn't have to be immediately afterwards. No, exactly. No. And I think the thing to remember is that, although you have given birth, it's an amazing thing. You might still want a little bit for your own mental well-being, just a little bit of time to feel great again and feel as if you've got those endorphin rushes. It does help to lift your mood. It can help with not stopping postnatal depression, but it can really help your whole mindset if you do stay active, I think, after you've had your baby as well as, not that you need it probably, but helping you sleep, reducing your stress and that kind of thing as well. So, yeah.
Let's talk about sleep.
Goodness me.
Does it happen?
Not really. I love it. Not really, not in the beginning.
And we don't just talk about exercise, we talk about health and well-being. And I've had this with my friends and also clients. If you want to sleep when the baby sleeps, sleep.
Absolutely.
Like, your body heals, your body repairs, including your brain.
Yeah, absolutely.
Like, it is actually okay to sleep. And don't battle against, oh my gosh, I should be moving, I should be exercising.
Yeah.
Your sleep is probably more important.
Yes, absolutely.
Because you've got an absolute dependent person and your body needs that time.
Exactly, just to recover, exactly.
So, my mama bear mish.
Yes.
Can you talk about a real life example of after your pregnancies?
Yeah.
How you did get movement back into you?
Okay.
Any top tips?
Yeah, so I spent the time when I had the energy, and as I say, I did rest if I needed to rest. But if I felt like I had the energy, when my baby was sleeping, I would take the dog for a walk with him in the buggy. So I'd go out for a walk to get some fresh air, to get me a bit of exercise. So I started off quite slowly, and especially because of the kind of burst that I had, I needed to start off at a pace where it was manageable for me. So I did that. And I found that was a really good introduction for me. So instead of me driving up the road to go and get a few groceries, I'd walk up there with the pushchair just to get a little bit of exercise and to get some fresh air as well.
Yeah, great.
And then also once I was getting a little bit braver and I felt a little bit more energised, I would maybe just do a quick little 30-minute workout whilst the baby was sleeping. And I did that at home. I did it at home, yeah.
I guess also then the beauty of being able to do it at home, you're there if baby's waking up.
Exactly. And I've got no one, because my issue was I didn't have any childcare on tap. My husband was back at work and my parents lived away. My in-laws lived away. So I had no support network to actually look after the baby for me. So it was very much whatever I was doing,
you and baby.
They had to come with me. So whether it was doing something at home, a workout, or whether I was going out and walking or something like that, I tended to do those kind of things.
And you did a little top tip, but I don't know if you actually knew you did a top tip.
Did I?
Yeah. Instead of getting in your car.
Oh, I did drive. I did stop
a few
driving.
More little
Yeah, I did do that.
Walks.
I did do that because, again, I was just mindful that I knew it was good. It wasn't so much the physical. I wasn't so much thinking about physically. It was more for my own mental well-being. I thought I need to get out and I've got this baby and I need to take him with me. So I'll walk to go and get a pint of milk or whatever it was I needed to get. So I did that quite a lot.
And let's not beat around the bush. I bet there were days when you were just like, too much. This is just all
really overwhelming. I think especially in the early days, and I think nothing prepares you for being a parent. And it's very overwhelming. And I was the first of my friendship group to have children. So,
and also you said earlier you were 4 weeks
4.5 weeks early with my first
one.
So
you were ahead of your NCT.
So all of my NCT group was still, they were still pregnant, and my little one was, crawling around. It was ridiculous. So because of that, I kind of felt like I didn't have anyone that was feeling how I was feeling. So I used to go to my local Everyone Active, and I'd go to like a mother and baby little group, and I'd just sometimes sit there and just chat to other mums and just have a little bit of me time, so that I still felt like I was not just a mum, but I was still finding my own.
Still Michelle.
Still me.
Yeah.
And that's really important, I think, when you've just had a baby, that you just lose for me, I felt like I lost, that I was always just myself, and that I just started being a mum. So that was really important for me.
Yeah. Little top tip, and I'm very conscious of doing this. When baby's born, everybody's, how's the baby? How's the baby? How's the baby?
No one asks about you, do they?
Ask the mama bear.
Yeah. I remember my mum coming round and just sort of stroking my shoulder and saying, "How are you, darling?" And I think I'd probably burst into tears at that point. But exactly. And I think, and what my husband did, bless his heart, he actually put a sign on our front door just saying, there's a new baby in the house. Please leave us alone. We want to just be on our own. Because if people come over, bless him, and I was like, a little bit extreme.
It could be exhausting if you're saying, oh yes, this is it.
Because he was basically sort of saying to me, he was having to be back at work, and he said, I don't want you having to keep getting up to make people cups of tea and thinking that you need to be a hostess, because he knows what I'm like. So we had lots of those conversations in my house.
On that note as well, and I know he's a superstar, but check in on the dads as well, because especially if birth has been difficult and first few weeks of no sleep, settling what has gone on, like, check in on your dads.
Yes, absolutely, because it is really traumatic for them as well, especially, as I say, especially if you've had a traumatic or a difficult birth, or it's just a bit overwhelming. I mean, my poor husband looked like a space cadet for a good few weeks. Bless him.
Oh, no. Yeah.
Bless him. Well, he's all right now.
And you went on to do another one.
Yeah, it can't have been that bad, can it?
Baby number 2.
So we've talked about mental and physical tips for after every baby. What about dietary tips?
Ooh.
Because you do love a bit of nutrition, don't you?
Nutrients.
Yes, talk to me about that.
Ideally, because not every day is going to be a breezy day. Some days, I know through my friends' experience and through clients' experience, you're just going to want to grab what's there.
Yeah.
But your body has just gone through an incredible transformation. So it's really important for yourself that you are getting your nutrients back into you.
Okay.
So all your main food groups, but then think about your healing and think what your body needs. So you want your vitamins and your minerals going back in. Fruit and veg.
Yes.
Get them in. Veggies, steam them. See if you can steam them, because it's going to enable them to hold on to as many
a really good tip.
Nutrients rather than a boiling, because then a lot of it gets lost in the water.
Doesn't it? Yeah.
Batch cook. If you've got the energy, I think you tapped on it earlier.
Yeah, I did batch cooking.
If you've got the energy and the storage to be able to batch cook, get those healthy, nutritious meals cooked off, because then those days where you're like, I just can't, I haven't slept, I'm just feeling a bit cranky today, I don't know what's going on with baby, you've got a go-to meal prepared.
Yeah, absolutely. They're saviours. They're absolute life saviours. Those are, absolutely. It's a great tip.
A really nice way to remind yourself is, I always say, try and eat a rainbow. So you've got your variety of fruit, of veg. So not just all of one type. Really try and mix it up so your body can take in a variety of vitamins and a variety of nutrients.
Amazing. I think we've just about wrapped everything up for this week again.
So, but a big one, because, like, let's face it, a lot of people have babies.
A lot of people do have babies.
Questions, send them in to us and we can answer them on later podcasts.
Absolutely.
Maybe.
And don't forget, you can now email us, and the email address is podcast@everyoneactive.com.
So once again, thank you so much for listening. Please remember to subscribe and like and leave us a review along with those questions. Thank you so much for tuning in, team. We will see you again soon.
And next week we're talking about strength training, I think, are we? Amazing. So I look forward to seeing you then. Exciting. Have a good week. See you then.
Take care.